Okay. You're good.
Brooke is gone. Hopefully he'll come back. And staff, when I call your name, Holly,
Present.
you. This open meeting of the HSAB is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency of the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. For this meeting, HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join in. Participants may find information on the conduct of this meeting at that location. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. So I guess we're calling the meeting to order, which we've probably done, and it's 1:03 now. Members present, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And seconded by Jason.
Yes.
Thank you. And all in favor, Angus?
Aye.
Jason? I'm in favor also, and Brooke is.
Aye, me too. You cut out for a minute. So.
No. Brooke's having trouble logging in. Okay, no minutes to adopt, so we're going to go right in. And Brooke is the first on the agenda, and he's trying to get in. And I see Joe. Joe is here. Hey, Joe, are you there? Maybe. So,
Oh, there's Brooke. Let's see if this is the third time I've let Brooke in. So let's see. Hopefully it's working for him.
we'll try to do Brooke.
There he is.
Let's see how long this lasts.
So Brooke is joining us at 1:04, but he's about to recuse.
Okay.
We'll do you first, Brooke, while we got you.
All right.
Do you want to say anything?
I know.
Let's see. Which one are we on? Are we on the main house?
Main house.
Yeah. Can we just scroll down through the? Yeah, we've already seen all that. Yeah. So, you know, I at this point it's hard not to you know, look around and say, you know, there's so many other examples of what is being proposed here in the neighborhood, you know, that it's kind of defies reasonability that we're getting as much pushback as we are on the house. So I'm hoping that the minor revisions that I've made will help appease. As you see, these are the densities and the square footages. And they're all, you know, what we're proposing on a larger lot is well within the realm of what is around this parcel. So anyway, included a landscape plan that I think is definitely artistically a little bit more appealing than the CAD site plan that I had provided in before. So hopefully that helps paint a better picture. And I think, let's see if we keep going. I think one of the things that had been requested at the last HDC meeting was that the 60-foot topo line be maintained. And so what I did is I ran the 61 and the 62 behind the house. And you can see there's just like a berming effect on the right-hand side. What you see on the bottom is a topo through the entire parcel, you know, all those parcels from Angola all the way up to this house. And again, I think that it should be fairly evident. Yeah, I guess, again, this should be all self-explanatory. And then the next page, you'll see the changes that I made for the HDC. You'll see on the north elevation, the height was dropped on both the left and the right. There is a plate height shift. This is now a mud sill, before it wasn't. And the dormers on the west elevation were split, where before it was one dormer. And the same is true for the east elevation. Again, that was an HDC request. Moved the stair around the back side, which is on the east side now. It was on the west side, the stairs to the basement. And made the gable dormer a little bit smaller, pulled in the cheek wall a little bit, dropped that, pushed the windows apart to give it a little bit more balance. And instead of 3/3s, which Diane Coombs didn't like, they are now 6/6s in the bedroom. So I think, oh, and I might add that what you see is my 24/36 format. So everything fits on one page. I mean, I think that kind of underscores just how small this building is. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. I think, one question I have, the east, is it the east elevation, west elevation? How visible is that rear part of the west elevation?
I think without the second dwelling there, I think it would be somewhat visible. There is the shed that blocks that view as well. So if you go back to the site plan, yep, up one more. Yep. And you'll see that there's that shed that acts to block that view. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse from Birdsong Lane at an angle and catch part of that back porch. But I think that shed helps, and then that second dwelling also helps too, assuming that gets passed in its form.
What about looking, Holly, could you go back to that? I'm sorry. Yeah. Rick, what about looking like from Prospect? Say you're on the bike path on Prospect, and you look between the barn, the shed, and the neighboring building. Yeah, looking through at an angle. Will you see like the rear dormer? I can't tell by the topos if is that all wooded? Is it really?
Yeah, so that is that's Fraker's
Yeah.
property, and Fraker's property sits up above the bike path. So I think that you're going to probably see next to nothing. I mean, you'll probably see the roof of the building, but I don't think you'll see that first floor for sure, because that's about I think it's about 8 feet below where the like if you zoom in, you'll see this. There's a 65, right? Topo line, and keep going down.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the second floor dormers, to be honest with you.
That gable dormer.
Yeah, and the others, they're pretty.
Well, if you don't like it, then you don't like it. I don't think it's going to be as visible, just because you've got Fraker's building there, and you've got the new construction that's going on lot 29. So plus we got the lot itself that Fraker's is on is up about 7 to 8 feet, and the Prospect bike path is below Fraker's. Like if you ride by there, you're looking up at Fraker's front door.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Jason, Angus, thoughts?
I'm happy to start.
Okay.
I think in general, the style and scale has been captured from the neighborhood. In general, I think it's sympathetic to its environment. The height would be more of a concern to me on the north side of that lane. Birdsong Lane as opposed to where it is on the south side. Shed dormers are, flush dormers, but flush shed dormers, I think are, even when there's a break in them, they can read as continuous. So honestly, I prefer the first iteration to the second. I would, if the size of it were an issue, I would probably go for narrowing it rather than creating two with a gap in between where you kind of know that the room is continuing through there. But in general, I really don't have any issues with it. I guess I would prefer to see that south elevation dormer, the gable, be a shed, maybe with another window instead of a gable, but it's on the back, and I'm not sure how visible it's going to be.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, how that might look as a shed. Did you try that, Brooke?
I haven't. I suppose I could. I think it would probably work in that situation.
Mhm. Jason, what are you thinking?
I don't really have anything to add. It does, for the most part, fit with the neighborhood. I feel like maybe the back piece that's coming out, could be lower, but other than that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think this is perfectly fine. I think it fits in. Okay, to me, the second floor does feel a little bulky. Just maybe because there's a little bit of extra room on beside the windows on the dormers. And I'm not sure how visible those dormers south and west are going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I'd prefer the west elevation shed dormer that was there. And the east elevation, I think it actually, it seems to work better separately. There's a little bit of
Yeah.
aftermarket quirkiness that, could be rationalized.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to try to go back to the original west dormer, the triple window dormer, I'd try to pull in the, less shingled wall beside the windows. Make it a little bit narrower if you can squeeze it down.
Yeah.
A couple other little comments. The water table across the front on the main, on the north elevation, it kind of, it really reduces the amount of shingle below the window. So I thought maybe it might actually be better. This is a pretty simple building. If it's just shingled, I think the water table might be more than.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. The reason I put that there is just to distinguish it from that side mass. And the water tables are a feature of most of these buildings. I mean, I haven't looked around North Mill, but I don't think it's necessarily a formal feature. I think it was just a way to have a starter course that protected the sill from water.
To me, they feel like you see them a lot in town on clapboard buildings. And I just don't remember, they seem more predominant on clapboards rather than shingles, but I may be wrong there.
Well, I'll go take a look at that. See what I can find.
What about the notion, Burke, of going to 12 over 12s? The style of building, to me, it has a sort of an old antique feel, a real simple sort of salt box. And the older, the 12 over 12s to me feel older.
Yeah, well, I'd be up for that. I mean, if you want to make that recommendation and if the HDC agrees to that, then I'm okay with that.
It might, I don't know what the other houses in the neighborhood are doing. It might also distinguish it as just being a little different.
Yep, I agree.
I think it would look better.
All right.
And dare I actually say this, because I work in a house that has 12 over 12 and 9 over 9 and what have you, you could actually do a mix. I mean, the main part of the house could just be over 12s and then the rest of it could be 9 over 9s.
give it a little look and see how it looks. All right, any other comments on this house, the main house? Moving on to the second dwelling.
All right, so this one, the stylized garage entry was abandoned. The building was brought down. I can't remember how much, but it's below 22 feet now. The front windows, everything was simplified, I think, in that respect. Yeah, most of these were just HDC concerns. I mean, this is a simple building. Like, I think it could have been a barn that was added to over time. So that's, I've done, I think, what was asked in that respect.
Mhm. Angus?
I like the notion of it being a barn that then was changed over to a living space and then stuff added on to it. And that's what it looks like. I think it works. It works with the house. I appreciate the height going down. Yeah, I think that's all.
Jason?
I have nothing to add. I think it looks very nice.
Okay, I'm going to say something similar to what I said on the last one. What about 12 over 12 windows? I think that might also kind of give it that barny old.
Yeah, I'm game.
Okay. and
But
the
yeah,
other-
I'd be happy with that recommendation.
Good. And the other one, that north elevation where there's sort of that blank spot to the left.
Hmm.
I know you got a stair in that corner. What if you move those two windows, just sort of centered them within that wall? Can you squeeze them in there and still make the stair work?
No,
Can we do it? What about if you just did a 3 over 3? Because if it was a barn, they might have had, kind of windows randomly kind of stuck in places at different times.
yeah, actually, Holly, would you mind scrolling to my floor plan so I can answer that question? Yeah, I think it might be possible to have like a little window there, either a 3 over 3, or we could do like a little 4-light window, kind of like what's in the powder room.
Yeah, it could even if it sat on the that landing part of the stairs.
Yeah.
Mhm. And, you know,
I'm definitely interested in that. Just the way things have been going at the HTC, it's, I have no idea what's gonna fly, but yeah, I definitely would entertain that.
so if it's, if you do end up going to 12 over 12s, then it would be more like a 9-light, which kind of,
Yeah.
or 12, which would have that more barn type
Yeah.
of quality too. So I think that's a good suggestion, Jason. All right, on to the shed.
Oh, that's old. Oh, okay. What happened is this has now been tracking with the application, and so what you're looking at is an old site plan, the old water feature situation. But the shed, I think at the last HDC meeting, almost everybody I think was okay with it. So it's just right now just running with the rest of the plans. Yeah.
There was a comment from someone that maybe it felt a little long. And I think that's my only comment might be on this is that could it be
Mhm.
shortened a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to that. You know, I think its length certainly helps obscure the west elevation of the house. But I think knocking 2 feet off of it, you know, probably wouldn't, would maybe help the design and wouldn't necessarily hurt visibility. So,
Angus?
Do you need to have double hungs in this? I mean, being a shed, it brings me back to the idea of the barn and outbuilding, that there could be, especially on that west elevation, maybe 3 9-light fixed or awning or hopper or something. It seems kind of long to have that blank space in the middle, but it's a shed. Like I don't see any reason to have 3 double hung windows there.
mhm.
So if maybe the gables were double hung, maybe that west elevation could have a couple or like 3 smaller windows.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm amenable.
Jason, did you have any comments? Okay. All right. And then on to the really fun one, the water feature.
Yeah.
You're drawing a crowd.
This was just to track, right? Well, to track, yeah.
The shed.
So
Oh, okay.
your water feature was to track, right?
Well, we've changed some things about it. Yeah, if you keep going down. So that, I think the shed was supposed to track. The water feature was revisions, so that might have gotten input backwards, maybe. There was a whole lot going on at the meeting. So, but anyway, the water feature has been made much smaller, and it has been tucked further back behind the building. And it's in the deck, so it's part of the part of, it's not going to be sticking out anywhere where it might be visible.
Is that underneath the porch roof, like half?
Partially, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Jason?
I'd rather just go away. I'm not a fan of in the deck either. I mean, I'm not a fan of them at all, but I just think in the deck is a little unusual too for Nantucket. I know we saw one on Westchester, I think. There might be one other maybe on that I don't know about other places, one on Huzzy, but I just don't think it's appropriate. But that's all I have to say.
Yep. Maggie?
I just recently, it was unrelated to the architecture, but I just came across the one that is next to the parsonage for the Unitarian Church on Fair Street. And I mean, it's a, it seems inappropriate in the town setting. I guess the reason I bring it up is this is further out of town, and it's I don't know how visible or audible it would be. A water feature like a koi pond or a little thing like that, I think makes a lot more sense out in the patio than a water feature that's partially under a porch. So I like the reduction in size, but I would prefer to see it more out. And I guess the reason it went behind was just to screen it from view. But I have to say, if it were to exist, I would prefer it further out.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the public that wants to speak to this particular application? I see a few other names. So maybe not. Okay. Yeah, I think you bring up a point, I guess, about this being not right downtown, on the sort of the outskirts on the edge of the OHD. And that's got some merit to it. But, you know, in general, I think many of us are still opposed to these kinds of things downtown in the OHD, and this is part of the OHD. So I'm going to just kind of make one comment. Pools and oversized water features have an adverse effect on the character of any dense neighborhood due to nighttime reflected light and accentuated sound. These features are especially not appropriate in the OHD. So, you know, visibility is one thing. I'm trying to dance around that because I doubt it's visible, but I still don't feel they're appropriate down in the OHD. So I think unless there's any other comments, I think we can probably just move on. So on to the next agenda item is 14 Harborview Way.
So of course I read all the comments. As you can see here. And the biggest thing that I did bring up to them was the fact that this structure is historic and it's one of the first that's really going to be, should be an example of what could be done for a historic structure and being elevated to meet FEMA flood standards. So I'm not too sure what they provided, but here we go.
I don't see Luke or Carrie here, so is there anybody else in the public on this application? Nope. All right, I've got a few comments, but I'm going to let you guys go first. Brooke, do you have any comments on this one?
You know, it doesn't look markedly different than before. I think it would be helpful if Luke or Carrie were here to kind of summarize some of these things. So, you know, that the access point on the south elevation from the second floor is, you know, that's still a concern. We've got 2 decks facing outwards. And maybe there are other buildings on the street. The other ones have the same situation where they've got two decks for each, you know, a deck for each bedroom. So it doesn't seem like it's significantly changed from the prior concerns.
Okay. I tend to agree. Angus?
Ditto. I don't see an appreciable difference, so I would say the same concerns apply.
And Jason?
I wasn't here the last time, and I'm sort of glad I wasn't. It's just, I can't say it in like proper appropriate terms, so please forgive me, but it kind of looks like somebody took a tube and like blew into it and it popped out. It just, you've lost the whole integrity of the original part of the house. It doesn't even look like the original house. I mean, we're getting a chimney, you know, what's the age of that chimney? What do we need a roof walk for? You're sitting on top of the water. What's the point? It's just a party deck, and it's also sitting on top of dormers that is not appropriate. I just, I just think the whole thing is inappropriate. I
Yeah,
could do more detail, but I'm not going to do more detail.
well, I'll talk a little bit about the details. So, they're raising the building a foot, and probably for good reason. That brings it up to at least to code, I guess. But the increase in the height and the addition of the roof walk make this house seem very multi-layered and tall. I think eliminating the roof walk would be a positive thing. I think it would help considerably. The shed dormer in the side, looking on the south elevation, that shed dormer to the side, the smaller one. Yeah. To me is not terribly appealing. I think maybe changing that to a gable dormer might make it a little bit more attractive. And then I'm pretty sure I looked at Street View. I kind of know this neighborhood. I don't think there are any other houses on this road with two decks facing the road. So Holly's agreeing. So I think that we should, I'm going to suggest that they just get rid of the second deck. I just think this one is enough. Two is too many. The pitch of the lower shed roof, that main front porch, it used to be a very shallow pitched hip at the moment, and they're turning it into a shed roof and plopping the deck into the middle of it. When you look at the east elevation, I think it's still like a 5 pitch, and it just reads as a lot of roof on either side of that deck. So I think for that reason, changing it to a 4 pitch, I think would be appropriate. And also, when you look at the west elevation, you'll see that the other shed roof right next to it, I'm pretty sure is a 4 pitch. Yeah, on the addition, that's a 4 pitch. So that, and I also think going back to the south, that the front door, I know it's existing, but it's a pretty it's pretty ordinary door. I think this is going to now look like the front door of the house. I think they could make that a little bit more attractive, enhance the casing, and maybe go to a different style door. And those are my comments. Anybody else want to add to that or comment? Jason?
I just also I think is on the east elevation. I mean, did you, the way it looks like dormer on top of dormer on top of dormer, it's like gigantic steps. It's just strange looking to me.
Is this the elevation you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's just too much. It's just too much. You don't even know what the original house looked like. It's just been eaten.
The middle dormer, the one in the sort of middle there, yeah, that's pushed back further, so they're not one on top of the other. So
right, but do you see the perspective though? It's just
do.
Actually, it's not a dormer on the bottom; it's over the door. But it just is very. I don't know. I think it overly emphasizes the height as well. That it's very. I mean, what is the height?
The overall height would be 36. And let me also point out that they'll be required to go to the zoning board of appeals for that height variance. So, and I think Jason, with your comment in the beginning, really hit the nail on the head for me. It really obliterates this 1930s historic structure from what it is now.
It's
not
really
even
altering the streetscape.
Yeah, and I do understand that the applicants did provide in their previous submittal a lot of photos of the existing streetscape, but from my perspective, I think that needs to be included with the proposed renderings to really see how it does fit in with these other Harborview houses that have been altered over the years. Because this one is being raised significantly high, but I really do think it's the addition that just wipes out the significance of this 1930s structure.
Yeah, and the roof walk and the addition of that deck and the center window that's stuck in the middle now. It's
Out of scale.
1930s to what? That's just, I'm sorry, I just don't have the proper terms to express. I'm disappointed.
Mm. Okay. Anybody else?
In a structure like this where you're wanting to preserve or at least do a sympathetic addition, I think you just have to look at the elements, and what there was a very simple main roof plane, 2 little dormers in it, which gives phenomenal view from up there. But it's the simplicity, and so there are a lot of modern elements that are getting added. The deck that stretches so long across the front, you lose the hip roof that was originally there. And then you lose the lines, the profile of the house when you move around to the west side, because that hipped porch roof turns into a shed. You lose the corner, and then because the addition coming up to it, you lose more of the articulation of the original building. So whether the addition stepped back or the roof planes changed a little bit, or that deck narrowed on the second floor, it's just a lot of elements that are getting removed and added that obliterates the original structure.
Yeah, so I'm adding the note that these additions essentially obliterate this 1930s structure. Too much change and expansion. So I think that's good enough. Let's go on. So next one is 19 Quaker Road.
Examples of 3 dormers on the roof.
So they've made some changes, mostly windows, not too much in the massing from what I can tell. Any comments from you guys? Brooke?
Let's see, hang on a second. My general impressions are that this is it's a simple building. Let's see, where are we? Okay, so they bought the back of Aloisi's lot, I guess.
I think it is the back of his lot. I think it's maybe even a second dwelling. Is that possible?
Second lot. I think they subdivided it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think, it might appear long and large from the sides, but the narrowness of the lot and its proximity to a much larger house to the south and some density to the north, I think obscures that concern a bit for me. And in terms of the window changes, I guess those must have been things that the HDC had requested.
We did also.
Okay. So yeah, that works. The height 26.6. I think that's probably in keeping with what's around there. That the house right next to him on the corner of Quaker and Milk is definitely bigger than that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I actually have no concerns with this building. It's simple, it works, and we're really never going to see the length of it.
Jason?
I still have concerns with it. I still think it's too tall. If you're looking at it from the front, from the east elevation, between the roof and all that space between the dormers on the second floor and the windows on the first floor, it just way too tall. We still have that a blank spot where you see the bump out there. You know, the house that the lot's been sheared off from is a historic house, as is the one across, you know, all right there, historic buildings. But that was like the one that faced that this is butts up against. Was, you know, a double house. It was a house and a boat shop. It had multiple uses and reasons. And then, but then when you move down away from this house, as you work your way down Quaker, the houses are really small. They're like little bungalows and 1.5 story cottages. I just think this is too tall, too long. And it should definitely not have an outboard chimney on it. There should be a chimney on the main mass if it wants to look like it's trying to fit in. Just, I don't think it fits in at all.
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks, Angus.
I agree with what's been said. You know, for this to look like more like the typical Nantucket house facade, 3-bay, there would have been a central chimney or some chimney in that front mass. I can't quite place it. I appreciate the first floor windows getting larger, but the second floor windows on that street facade, there's something tediously small about them, and I can't quite place whether it's because there's so much roof above them, or that they really are just small. It's like it's a different scale from the first floor to the second floor. Yeah, I don't know whether the dormers need to get bigger, or the roof needs to get smaller, or both, but they seem small for the height of the roof behind them.
No,
And that you know is pretty obvious in the front, but if you look at the profile too, you get this little dormer and then the long roof that comes out above it.
those windows on the dormer are 2 feet 8 inches wide by 4 feet 8 inches tall. So they're not small windows, which is odd because they look it. So it makes you wonder what the scale of the building really is.
Well, does anybody else notice that it's almost as if you would typically have either thicker trim or a course of shingles on either side? Like, this looks odd to me. Is that because it's sunk in?
It's a little tight, and we're often trying to get people to go in the other direction. There's usually too much space on the side of the windows. So I hate to comment too much about that here, but I think you're right. The casing right up against the corner board is, do we think that'll look better with a little bit more space? Maybe a shingle band around the whole window?
Well, let's go back to those photos.
Yeah.
Let's see what was acceptable.
Yeah.
Now that's small and that's small above, big below. And if you go to the next one, yeah.
Cottage corner.
Yeah. See, to me,
See
that this one looks more problematic.
See the proportions of where the peak of the dormer is in relation to the overall scale of the roof plane, the main roof. You could look at all the photos, and this is like a quarter of the way up the roof, or a third rather than half, or
A lot of room.
Right. He doesn't want it.
Right.
Cottage corners.
Yeah. I kind of like the windows sort of tight in the dormers, not,
Oh.
I didn't like that third photo. I thought that was the least successful.
Yeah.
Of the 3 pictures that I've seen.
Do we want to recommend cottage corners? Is that Does that maybe help, or is that just an oddity?
Where's the other one with the corner boards? No, that one, yeah. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most successful, I think.
And it does have a little bit of shingle to the window. So maybe we just leave it at that and just say, just try to get a few inches of shingle between the casing and the corner board. Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I like it as, more or less as is. I do think that the dormers could maybe come up a little bit into the roof line, as opposed to being a quarter of it. As Angus said, it's almost more like it's closer to a third or even a half in those photos. Maybe that's a roof pitch change, like an 8.5, 12 would help that. So,
Yeah, I think actually even just going to an 8 pitch.
yeah.
I think that, it's not unusual. So these are 6/6 windows. It's not a Victorian. I mean, 9 isn't that steep, but I think 8 might help the concern we're talking about.
And maybe raise it so that the lock rail or the meeting rail, the window is more the break of the dormer to the shingle, or just something to bring it up some. I mean, those are pretty large windows for second floor bedroom windows. It's just because of the roof and the scale of everything around it, they look small.
Well, to me, they look like they're in the right place relative to the eave line. We always want them lining with the meeting rail, which they do. So I'm not sure I'd want to suggest raising them any. That might make them a little too top heavy.
Maybe just dropping the pitch will
Yeah,
help.
I think that's a good idea. I think that'll eliminate some of that roof plane, pull them up, or make them fit into that roof plane a little bit better. I doubt they'll lose much in terms of the program floor area. My other concerns were and it's not so evident on this view, but on the south elevation. There we go. The rear wings, they're at the plate's the same height as the main roof mass. I think that the plate for all the rear appendages and the side one, for that matter, should be dropped lower. Make some step there. We're up too high. And then on that, there's now it's the west elevation below. That's a lot of, it's a 5 pitch on that porch roof, I believe. Is that a 5? You read that? Yeah, that's a 5 pitch. And then now if you go to the north elevation, there you go. It's just a lot of roof on the north side. All that, it's one roof plane. I'm not sure I mind the depth of the porch, but it's just a lot of roof. I think if they went to a 4 pitch on that porch roof, it would just eliminate a lot of asphalt. So, those are my comments. Anything else?
Is there anything being addressed about that blank wall facing the street?
Yeah, I actually, right. I think Jason mentioned that, so I added a note that there should be a window on that wall. They're not going to want to because that's a shower there, but they can figure that out. Could even be a small window, but I think it's going to look odd. It's just a blank wall. Is that it?
Yep.
On to 6 Lowell Place. Hi, Joe.
Hello, everyone. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So this is the second pass at this. Yeah, thank you, Ollie, for staying right there. So What we did is, we heard your comments about the sunroom, so we toned that down. We did a shingled wall. The garage element, they really wanted to get some more habitable space. Unfortunately, we had to demolish the structure in 8 Lowell Place. So what they've decided to do is take that garage element, and we're gonna put it on 8 Lowell Place. So we'll be coming back in probably next month with that design. You also asked us if we could lower the ridge, so I went back to the similar broken salt box roofline element. So it lowered the ridge by about 11 inches, and that also translated to the side massing that got lower. We are still going to keep the rock face foundation. The one thing that we did do is we had a open bulkhead access, and what we want to do now is, now that 6 and 8 are owned by one family, they want to have those 2 properties connected. So we have a side door off the back elevation on the south elevation, and we want to link these 2 properties. So what we did is took the outside bulkhead and we put a more conventional Nantucket looking wooden bulkhead access on the front. That's the one kind of tweaky little thing that we did. Otherwise, it's pretty much all the same design based on, and we made the tweaks that you had asked for in the HGC board. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Oh, we recessed that dormer. That was another comment you all made, that we took it under advisement and thought it was a great idea.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Victoria, did you want to, are you on? Did you want to make a comment on this one?
Hi, yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, I am on, and you know, in general, well, first of all, I love what you did in the back. I really prefer those dormers in the back. I think that looks much more like the street. I just really appreciate that. I would love to see it still a little shorter. I just feel like our street is getting taller and taller and taller. And I was just curious why the roof went up on one section. I get it that it balances maybe better on the 2 sides of the house, but I was just curious why it was going up. And you know, it still feels a little big, but oh, is it just because it moved from garage to living space?
Yes, and
Okay.
and I rotated the gable.
Got it. Yep.
I mean, honestly, I didn't want to do that because we did lose a couple windows on the second floor, but it made the best sense to get a family room space.
Yeah, I get that. You know, I really appreciate the changes you did make. I'd love to still see a little smaller. I realize that may not be possible. I'm, you know, understand putting the garage in the back. That makes sense on the street. Those are generally my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Angus, thoughts?
Can I just ask what the main mass with the height is? Because I can't see it.
25 feet 5.
Anything else, Jason?
What is the pitch of the roof, the main roof now?
It matches the existing roof, so all we did is we just raised the front plate. So I took the same exact roof report pitches and kept them in place, more or less, reused them. So I think it's a 8.
Yeah, I mean, the general feeling of it feels, I think it feels a bit vertical, but the details of the filled in porch and the general simplicity of the front feels appropriate for Lowell. I appreciate the garage turning into a room there. I wouldn't have a bulkhead on the front of a house. I would preferably have it in the back, at worst, on the side, but not on the front. So I would take that away. If there were a way to lower it any more, it would be appreciated, but the overall impression, I think, is much improved.
Okay. Brooke,
Um, what was this before? I don't know that I've seen this application.
yeah,
Existing conditions or the previous submission?
No, the previous building,
I mean,
Uh,
the historic structure.
the structure itself.
Yeah,
That
they're not
was-
in here.
I shared them with Mickey.
yeah, I'm trying to,
Do you want me to send them to Holly really quickly?
it might be, let me go ahead and I'll see if I can pull them up in the
All right,
meantime.
first one wins.
On that note, Joe, since this is a historic structure, just like I think I asked for the other Lowell Place architect to indicate that, I think it's really important from a context perspective to show the existing elevations of this historic structure and how it's being adapted on the plans, if at all possible. Obviously, on a second sheet, you're not going to be able to fit in one of these, but that would be my comment.
I would-
Yeah, that on the 2 foot by 3 foot drawings, it has everything. So hang on.
Gotta love the background.
Oh, thank you. I'm always trying to find different ones.
I was thinking about in the perspective, but yours as well. Is that bamboo?
Yeah. It's actually a bike trail I want to go try.
So
So-
Holly, I've got this on my screen. If you can let me share, I can. Okay.
And Holly, it's in your inbox.
Can you see that?
Okay. All right. So this is definitely a significant change, like that front plate is moving up.
Correct.
All right.
Right now, Brooke, I can barely stand up on the second floor. The bathroom, you would even have to turn sideways. It's just, it doesn't work.
What about me though, Joe?
No, it wouldn't work for you. No, Brenda Johnson, who works in my office, she even had a duck. The sink is on the floor. That's actually, the sink is sitting on a chair right now.
Yeah.
It's just in really bad shape.
Yeah.
And they have 3 daughters, so they're trying to come and spend more time in the
I appreciate that you're maintaining the salt box, that appears to exist. It does look like the roof pitch of the existing structure is shallower than what is being proposed. Not sure if you could attractively make this roof pitch shallower without messing with some of the other features, but if the rest of the board has few concerns, then it's not an issue I'd press.
I think you saw that. The pitch that's proposed does look a bit steeper, and if it could stay shallower, I think that would help the height issues. maybe what is proposed is an 8 pitch and this is looking like a 7 pitch for the as-built.
It's actually like a 7.5. It's kind of in the middle. And I don't know if it was a point of the sag or something, but I can go in there and double check it. But it worked out more or less. We just made it a 7. But
Yeah, it's just looking at the south elevation and it looks like it gets steeper. I mean, further and further away. It's not a parallel line.
No, it's not.
yeah,
Yeah, I think, I mean, as a nod to what was there, I mean, if there was a way to make the new roof pitch somehow closer to what was existing, I think it would be a nice nod to what was there.
okay.
Holly, can you show the front facade again? Sorry.
I don't know if others would agree with me, Joe, so.
Brooke,
I
I'm
do.
gonna-
No, I think everyone's leaning with you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is that the shallower roof pitch would, and it might also help those stable dormers like it did on the same issue as on the last house. So I think that's a good idea to try to get it just a little bit shallower.
Okay.
And
Is there?
I'll carry that out with the rest of the gables.
Is there a way to bring down the roof on that family room piece that's replacing the garage now?
Well, I think if we go to 7 pitch, it will bring that down about a foot,
Okay.
1'3".
And I have a really strange request. Holly, can you keep going through the different elevations? Are you keeping, I know this is going to sound strange, but the porches that exist now that have that lattice,
Yes.
are you keeping it on are you keeping it on one? Is that what I'm seeing or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It got a little bit wider. Again, I've got.
It's just like that's just like quintessential like 20s, 30s, and that's another thing that really bothers me that we're losing now on so many houses is those little side entry porches that are either roughly kind of boxed in to give you like a little entry area that's dry, but also just that trellising that exists, and I think that's important, especially on those bungalows.
Agreed. So the other thing is and I don't know, you weren't on the last call, but the rock face concrete.
Yeah, I
block.
saw that on your.
Yeah,
thing.
so we've actually found a source and I did it next door at Forlow Place and they work out great. So.
Okay. Yeah, because it's Lowell, it's like what North Liberty has a few. We're just all kinds of stuff.
There's a gentleman in Chicago and he makes 3 a day.
Hey.
I love it. No, I'm not knocking my niggas.
No, I imported somebody where I work to come and redo our roof because it's a concrete with asbestos fibers, and he's the only one in the country who knows how to coat them properly.
Yeah, he found this, or his grandfather's. I forget, it was a crazy story. Anyway, someone had it in his family, so he started doing the business. So yeah, it's great.
Cool.
All right, so I'm going to agree, I think, with pretty much what's all been said. I think, speaking of that northern gable right there, you can see it. Maybe you could drop the plate a little bit, Joe, and that would bring things down. It's just a 1-story room.
Okay.
Maybe make it a little tighter down to the window casing.
I agree with that, Mickey. I think if the frieze could come down to the head casing of the window, and then we got the 7 pitch or whatever pitch is the original pitch, it would help.
And I think it would tie in the porches and that new sunroom element. Have them all the same height. That's a good catch. Thank you, Mickey.
Yeah, and that, speaking of the porch, I might suggest, and I don't know how the rest feel, but not to do the concrete block underneath the porch, because it's such a solid, porches were, traditionally didn't have solid foundations, and then they were filled in. But I'd almost rather see, I think, like board or lattice underneath that porch, just to differentiate it.
Would you mind if I did a concrete foundation and then we did a wood element on the front of it to cover it?
Not as long as you can't see the foundation.
That's fine.
It looks like wood. It's wood.
I mean, we're trying to get every square inch out of this house, if you will, so to speak.
Yep.
And that basement space would be beneficial to the family.
Yeah, I would I would try to like continue like in the original, one of your earlier proposals, you had the posts, you know, just don't go corner to corner with the boards.
Yeah, right there. Oh.
Look.
Okay.
So, yeah, have that kind of a recessed infill kind of a board. And then my only other comment was with same thing Angus had said. I really don't think the Bilco should go on the front of the building. I know it's not a real Bilco, it's probably wood, but
It's a wood.
we just don't like to see those on the front of the building.
Okay.
Mm,
That one I'm going to struggle with.
I know, I looked myself, I don't know where you can put it. So, any other comments about this one from anyone? I guess not. I think so. I guess we're good, Joe. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.
And then on to 8 New Mill Street. This is another one where to me there just weren't enough changes. It's looking a lot like the last submission with a little bit of you know,
I thought the other version was 12/12.
well, there was that was the original one. Then there was one just before this.
Oh,
It looks, I think, basically the exact same massing, but they've changed some windows, maybe something in the back. Yeah, maybe that's changed. Since we don't have the previous submission, it's hard to tell, but I think the massing is exactly the same. Anybody want to go in on this, or?
It'd be great to see the proposed, the iterations of it.
I found it, but I've lost it. I don't know where it's hard to go back and find old proposals.
So our concern was it being too high and something about the stair being exposed and maybe there being an option for splitting the stair to get the egress.
Go up
It's just-
to the
Sorry.
Holly, go up to the HDC comments. And you can see what we said under Bacchus right there. This is this infill front facing gable. HSAB comments, this style does not relate to the main house. I think that was the original submission. For other buildings in the immediate neighborhood, it changed in style, less roof pitch. Yeah, so this all relates to the original submission, not the more recent one. Let me read what I had said, what I was thinking of saying. First of all, there are very few changes to the proposed plans. The massing is still a concern. Small barns and outbuildings were not uncommon downtown, but generally had narrower proportions. Reducing the width by a couple of feet would make a big difference in the proportion of the front facade to give it the appearance of an outbuilding. This will cramp the floor plan, but it's doable and not the primary concern for the HDC. Reducing the width will lower the height. Other changes to make it feel like a traditional outbuilding / barn would be 12/12 windows or a 9 or 12 light sash. More asymmetrical fenestration. Change the garage doors to a sliding batten style door and move it to one side. Remove the door hood, the garage roof door hood, and then break up the shed dormers on the sides into a couple of shorter ones. So I think it's still, to me, it's still an issue of the proportions. It just looks like a garage with an apartment over it from me.
I think I saw somewhere that somebody had said in the HDC comments, too chunky. It is too chunky. It just, and I think there actually was a 12/12 on another elevation, or is that another?
Was the original
This-
plan with
The original.
12.
So it just, I know it's just a drawing, but it looks plasticky. I'm sorry, I'm not doing a very good job in my comments today. It is fully visible. It's fully visible from the street that it's on, and it is fully visible from the street over. I'm there, I'm there every day. And it doesn't matter if there's leaves on the trees or not leaves on the trees. It's fully visible. And there are some other inappropriate barn-like structures in the neighborhood, secondary structures. There's one actually next to, I forgot what the house is called. It's next to the poorhouse going up with red trim, but that's a little, actually, when I think about it, it's a little chunky. I just think it could be a lot better because this is not going to be hiding. And I don't think the stairs on the outside are appropriate. I don't even think that little bump out for the door on the right side, if you're looking at the northwest elevation, is appropriate. The dormer wings, I think it needs to be thinner, and it just doesn't look like it was once a barn or anything like that. But I agree with some of the stuff you said, Mickey.
Angus?
I think the exposed stair has always been a issue. The width, I think, is a good comment, because it just it starts to get confused between a garage and a second dwelling. You see the garage doors, but the mass of it, just it reads a different way. That side entry, I think just the elements, could be simplified. The awning seems really overbuilt with shingled sides to it, and the depth of it. Yeah, if it could just get reduced any in width and height, I think that would help.
All that lattice and everything that you see on the back, that's all visible from the street over. The neighbors and everybody else are going to be looking right into that. And it's just beautiful, kind of still open, yards and things on the houses that back up against this. So it is, again, fully visible, but I hate to say, this is ruining the view.
When you look at the site plan, Holly, could you click on that? Yeah. Look at the proportions of this to the main house. It's really a pretty large building, relatively speaking. I just know they can scale it down and it'll feel much better. They're asking for a lot here.
I agree with that statement. It's a lot of building relative to what's there.
It is.
It may even not meet the 20% rule based on what I'm looking at.
I wonder too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only 682 and 856 it's like 100 and something between them.
It is a second dwelling. It's not a studio, so they'll have to meet that 20%.
What is it? 682 divided by 856.
Holly, is there a picture of the main house again?
It's just at 20%.
Mhm.
Don't worry. I know it looks like myself, but I just.
Anything else on this one?
Nope.
In general, it looks like something that would be out of town. It doesn't look like a barn that was in town that was converted. And it doesn't look like a little guest house in town. It looks more suburban or, something that wouldn't normally be in town.
It would work on Evergreen Way, or somewhere mid-island.
What we're looking at now is the previous submission, I think, right, Holly? Or do I have that wrong?
Yeah, I almost like it
So I
better.
was looking for the
better
report.
without the awning, but I agree it should be made narrower.
There you go.
This,
They're
since
6 over 6.
it's a giant rental house. I'm just throwing that out there.
But that's not our purview. Let's
Right.
not.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, that's why I
Don't do
think that the
that.
garage is looking the way it is looking.
There is a lot of abutters concerns and a lot of that brought up. And of course, again, the HTC had reiterate that that's not the purview, but I mean, here's a 1977 infill 4-bay. That's there. I mean, it's going right here.
I guess the issue is that it doesn't really go with the surroundings, and that's the part that really doesn't work.
Sort of what I meant by that it looked like plasticky. This doesn't look.
Well, I don't know where the shutters came from, but the main house doesn't even have shutters.
Yeah.
I think at one point it did.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think, but it's been fiddled with quite a few times.
All right. Anything else on this one? I think we're good here. All right. I think that's the agenda. We got the lighting provision for HTC general checklist. How are we doing with that? Is that
Oh, we're all over it, Brooke.
Well, I did write that one proposal and I got some kind of grammar check on it. But I haven't looked at it since then. No.
all right? When you get around to it, could you try to send that out again to the rest of us
Yeah.
on the checklist so we can see it in context? All right. So motion to approve comments for agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Aye. Oh,
Thank
Aye.
you. Brooke,
aye.
I too. How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Yes, they are. Look at that
Okay.
one there all day.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, me too. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mickey.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See whoever's going to attend HTC tonight.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.